It's time for The Real World with Lee Anderson, Westminster's toughest talking MP. Now this week, our very own King of the North gave a much-needed reality check to the House of Commons on the Channel crisis. In a powerful exchange with Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick, Lee urged the government to ensure those who arrive here legally don't get too comfortable. Look.
When I hear words like sourcing housing and getting extra hotel spaces for illegal immigrants, it leaves a bitter taste in my throat. When are we going to grow a backbone and do the right thing and send them straight back the same day?
In sourcing accommodation for migrants, we should be guided by both our common desire for decency, because those are our values, but also hard-headed common sense.
Guess who wasn't happy? Anna Soubry. Remember her, that ultimate Tory wet who left the party over Brexit? Well, she was furious. And she tweeted, "The utterly odious Lee Anderson is desperately fishing for votes in the deepest, murkiest bottom of the political pond because he knows voters in Ashfield are going to boot him out come the next general election." So, Lee, here's your chance to respond to Anna Soubry.
Well, I think Anna needs to jog her memory. It was her that was booted out by the good people of Broxtowe a few years back in the general election. Look, it's good to see that I'm living rent-free in Anna's head at this moment in time. She's been quite vicious on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter, Dan, but quite vicious over the past few years.
Do you know what? Your life will be so much happier if
it's a lot better. But she's been attacking me on Twitter. Look, she's not living in the real world. We know that. She's a has-been. And I genuinely think that some people should be breathalyzed before they go on Twitter. And if there was, she wouldn't be making remarks like that.
Now, Lee, in terms of your comments, this has to start happening, doesn't it? I mean, if there is any sense from these Albanian human trafficking gangs that they can keep getting people in,
yep,
they're going to keep pumping.
I make no excuses, Dan. I'm not going to sit here and blame the French, like you seen in that clip. I'm not going to blame the ECHR. I'm not going to blame anybody but that place, Parliament. That's at fault. We're letting thousands and thousands of people in every single month
Tens
now.
of thousands.
Tens of thousands, 10,000, 12,000 Albanians. There's no excuse. I keep saying it. I feel like the weirdo in the room sometimes. As soon as they get here, send them straight back the same day. There is no excuse. Look, I've asked somebody, his senior position in government, what would be the consequences of sending people back the same day if we break international law. We just don't do that. We're British. Sorry. We owe our British people. We're here to defend our shores and our borders, and they should go back the same day. And the first duty of a government is to protect our borders, and we're failing.
And arguably, when this has really worked, if you look at Australia or now what Maloney's doing in Italy,
yeah,
arguably, Lee, they actually shouldn't set foot on British soil.
They shouldn't. They're breaking the law as soon as they get here. As soon as they get off them boats, they're breaking the law. They're criminals, you know. Why are they leaving France, Dan? Why are they leaving a safe country? They're living in tents and cardboard boxes in France. The reason they're coming here is for the draw. It's the pull. It's the promise of being picked up, put in a 4-star, 5-star hotel, and then eventually dispersed out into the community. Well, I'll tell you what, my community in Ashfield are not happy about this at all.
No, I know. And this is, I think, an issue the Conservative Party has to solve if you want to have any chance.
They have to solve it. You know, the promise, you know, one of the reasons I joined the Conservative Party and stood as a candidate was to protect our borders, was to control immigration. And so far, we've failed. Like I say, I make no apologies. We've got to get much tougher, much quicker.
No, indeed. Now, look, this is the story in the real world that people care about, but in your little Westminster village, everyone's talking about this bloke, Gavin Williamson. Doesn't seem like a very nice bloke, but I did find this very ironic. Angela Rayner. Now, remember, she called all of you guys scum. You know, this is a woman who I think has probably the most nasty rhetoric out of anyone in Parliament, but she's decided to get all pearl-clutching about this.
Look, there's no place for bullies in Parliament or in the upper house, in the House of Lords either. So I don't think that he should be holding a senior position, whether that's in the Lords or whether that's as an MP.
I mean, irony there, surely, Lee.
Irony. I mean, that should come with a warning notice on it, Dan. I mean, that could possibly end up being in government at the next general election. Let's hope not. But Tory scum, this phrase that we've heard from Angela, in the chamber, I was there at the time, actually, it sort of slips off the tongue very, very easily from some Labour MPs, and I think it's a bit rich when they talk about standards. You know, I did raise this in Parliament a few months back about the standards of some Labour MPs. I asked, I think it was Annalise Dodds, how many Labour MPs have been in prison over the past 10 years. I think it was 7.
And what about Gavin Williamson? I mean, did you deal with him at all? Is he a good guy, bad guy? What's your view?
I've always got on really well with Gavin. When I first got elected, he made me feel incredibly welcome. Look, he's a mover and a shaker within the party, we know that. But listen, Dan, seriously, I looked in my inbox for the past 2 weeks. I have not had one single email on Gavin Williamson. People in the real world do not give a toss.
No, this is a Westminster Bubble story. Look, finally, I wanted to ask you about this. I was quite shocked, actually. The SNP backbencher, Michelle Thompson, has been condemned for wearing a pro-independence poppy at Hollywood. Now, she claims she was only using the Yes badge because she didn't have a safety pin to hand, but critics have branded the move an insult to veterans in an attempt to politicise remembrance.
It is disgraceful. You know, just for a few days once a year, the whole of the UK come together to remember our glorious dead. It's just a shame that certain people like that can't respect, you know, what happened all those years ago. Our servicemen, servicewomen, civilians gave their life up. They're always trying to make this silly, cheap political point. They need to grow. Look, I don't like giving them airtime, Dan, because they are oxygen thieves.
Well, on that note, there it is. Westminster's toughest talking MP, Lee Anderson. Thank you, Lee. We'll speak next week.